today's video, we're going to talk about the 5 ways concrete contractors get the most out of Bluebeam Revu. We're going to go through some custom measurement tools, tracking equipment rental, establishing phases in the project, revision tracking, and QA/QC reports. We've got a lot of stuff to go through, so let's dive in. So first we're going to talk about measurement tools for estimating. In this example, I've got a plan profile drawing open. I just wanted to show some curb and gutter tools. First, you can see over here I've got some tools built out for the different sizes of curb and gutter. I'm going to show you that I built a legend as well, and you can drop that on your sheet here. It's going to read everything that you have on the sheet from this tool set. So you can see those quantities are in there. And then what I'm going to show you is I'm going to select a certain kind of curb and gutter, and I'm going to show you how we add that in here. So I'm going to snap to the drawing here and just draw a real rough curve in here, double click. I can then come over, select that, and convert to an arc to get that curve in there as best we can. Get it close. And then what you'll see is that my quantities in my legend updated as well. It labeled it with these custom tools, it highlighted the area, and it labeled it with the type of curb that is the profile. In the legend here, you'll also notice that because I used a line tool, it created or it publishes the length for me. And then I have some formulas in the background that are calculating the cubic yards of concrete for each one of those types. So that is my first example. Next, we're going to jump over into another one, building slab. And for this one, I'm actually going to open up a Excel file as well. I showed this one in a previous video with quantity link, and I'll point to that one as well. So with this one, what I want to show is our isolated footings. So I've got isolated footing tools in here. You can see I need to fill in this one. So I'm going to go, I know that J is a 16-inch deep footing, so I'm going to select that. Come in here with my snaps turned on, make sure that I'm snapping to the content of the PDF, and it's going to give me the size of that pad footing. Okay, it's also taking into account, I built in the depth of that as well. And you'll notice over here in quantity link, my quantity of yards, cubic yards for isolated footings went up. Okay, some more examples. I can add piers. So I built these out, some standard sizes. I can drop a 20-inch pier on my column there, and that's going to update my piers over there in quantity link. Again, let's look at some slabs. So here, I've got all kinds of tools built out for cast in place walls, slabs, strip footings, and things like that. And in the background, these are actually calculating rebar. So in some cases that works, and we can show you that in a second. I'm going to look at my slabs. Right here, it's calling for a 6-inch slab, so I'm going to come over to my slab tools and grab the 6-inch slab, click and drag that down to that line there, and it's going to label it as a 6-inch slab. And you'll notice that my cubic yards added up over here. On this side, we have a 5-inch slab, so I'm going to come over and select that, draw in a similar area, and all the quantities go up. It labels it differently. I've got it set up to be different colors so you can tell the difference just by looking at it. So let's look at some examples where we have maybe some rebar in there. So it's a reinforced slab with number 5s at 12 inches on center. So I can come over here, draw that in there. I put a little hatch pattern. It calls out the 5-inch slab. Again, we can do that with let's do a welded wire fabric for the 6-inch, and I'll click and drag that over. Again, it's got a different hatch pattern, and this time it actually gave us the welded wire fabric. So I have it set up to account for 4 foot by 10 foot sheets. with some overlap included in there. I just guessed at $25 per sheet. It's giving me my total square footage and the cost for my welded wire fabric, along with the concrete over here gives me the totals. I can select what size truck I have. So this is a 9.5 yard truck. I can switch that. It changes my quantities, the number of trucks I have in here. So I know how that delivery is going to work. And if concrete is $300 today, I can switch that here, and it feeds into all those formulas and changes the totals down here. So let's look at those rebar calculations down here. So what we've got is, if I select this pad footing here, it's going to call it out as a 16-inch pad footing. I've got number 5 bars. If I have them top and bottom, I can come in here and put in 2. And then for the rebar spacing, this is in feet. So if I need these 18 inches on center, we're going to go with 1.5. And then let's put some in this direction as well. We'll go with those at 1.5 as well. And you'll see all of these totals are updating as we fill that in. What it's doing is it's taking an array of the size, so the width and the length of this pad footing. It's subtracting the clear from the slab of the edge, and spacing things evenly based on what we have here, and giving us, it's multiplying how many we need each direction and adding up those total linear footage of rebar. So we're putting that in here. So some cool tools that we've built there for different contractors. The next one I want to show you guys is the sidewalks and ramps. So I'm going to come over here, open this one. Here you can see I've got some sidewalks marked out here. Over here I've got some as well. I've got crosspan sections where we mark those in, and how those tools work is, obviously they're up here in our tool set, and we have different settings in here. So we can set those to whether we want them done by hand or machine. Obviously there's a cost difference in that with labor. I can also tell it whether I want fiber mesh in that one, yes or no. And then if we look over here with the crosspan size, I've built it so that we can come in and select the different sizes that we typically use. It has a factor in here that was given to me by the customer, and then it gives us automatically that cubic yards for that section of concrete. Same for the ramps. I just created some circles there, and I place those, and it's going to tell me I have 8 of them. So we have a set cost for those types of ramps. If I come over here, I'll show you guys how we can use dynamic fill to fill in a sidewalk. So I'm going to come over dynamic fill, pull this up here. So I'm going to come in and select the paint bucket. I want to make sure that I'm selecting the area measurement, and I'm going to come down here, and I have access to my custom tools as well. So I'm going to select the sidewalk. In my properties, I want to make sure that I change this as low as I can to change the size of that dot. And then what I can do is, let's go here. And then we're going to go with this one. Let that fill in. And then I got one more section over here that I want to connect with the existing. And that fills it in for me. And I'm going to click apply. And that gives me a nice measurement of the square footage. And I have that set up for, I can then come in here and select that sidewalk. And I want to select my size. We've got different sizes in here. I can select a 6-inch. It puts that formula in there again and gives me my cubic yards concrete for that one. Next, I'm going to show you some equipment. So I'm going to close this Close those tools. Just for fun, I created a tool to capture costs of rental equipment. So here I've got equipment rental. I've got a sod cutter that I'm going to come in and place maybe here. And just for fun, I used an image off of the Home Depot website. I don't recommend using images. They can add some weight to it, but for fun, I did that. And fun is kind of where all the ideas start, and then we improve them from there. In here, I also set this up so when I come down to this in my markups list, my sod cutter, I can come and select how I want to rent this. Do I need this for a week? I'm going to select that. And it comes in with the price that I put in from the website. If I click on that, you'll see I've got a hyperlink on the tool. So it'll open up to Home Depot's website and the prices, how they have them laid out. Okay, next, let's look at phases and how we can use those. We're going to use spaces to lay out what our phase of construction is going to be. So for that, I'm going to come over to my Spaces tab, and I'm going to create a new space. And for the purpose of this one, I'm going to create a rectangle around this whole area and just name this phase 5. Say OK. And what I want to show you now is that all of the markups, if I have my spaces over here, you can see how it breaks out all the markups that are in phase 5. Okay, so let's say the general contractor changed things up and they want us to break this down a little further. I can select that space and come in and update the shape of that over to here. And let's say now I want to create another one because this is phase 6. So I'll draw a box around there. That's going to happen later. Phase 6. I'm going to say OK. And now if I sort by space over here, you can see how that's broken down, and it assigned those to a phase just by drawing that box around those markups. So you can very quickly update what phase things belong to in that way, instead of having a comment or something in the markups that you have to update manually. The other thing I wanted to show you is the status. So if I come in here and look at the status of these, we can create a custom status so that, let's say this one here, if I double click in there, go to my contractor custom statuses, I can mark this that site prep is complete. It's going to stamp it with my name and also the time and date that I said that was complete. So I can come through here and select these different sidewalks that we did all of the site work, and those are all complete. It looks like this one here, the utilities aren't in yet, so they're not, the contractor before us isn't ready, so we're going to go and put that one on hold. Okay, I had that turn red so that we know it's on hold. The ones that, if I go back to my drawing here, you'll notice that the sidewalks that I said were, the site was prepped and ready to go, I had those turned green because now we've got the green to go. Once that pour is complete, I can come into the status again and mark that pour complete. And it's going to gray out and kind of not draw attention anymore. So these statuses are going to stick. You can't remove those. It's going to record when that stuff happens and who marked that. So good for tracking progress along the project timeline as well. So let's look at revision tracking for a second. Here you can see I've got an addendum or a revision. I drew a cloud in here. They changed this area. I actually attached the addendum to the markup. So if I click on that, we can open that up, see the notes that are in here. If I go to page 2, you'll see that they have a new plan here. This plan happens to be a different scale from the original one. They blew it up to fit on the page, but we can still overlay these with the document overlay. What we're going to have to do is, let me switch over to this one. I'm going to go to my overlay. What we need to do is align points. So it's going to assign red to the original drawing and green to the addendum or the revision. I'm going to click on align points. It tells me to select 3 points on each drawing, the same point. So I'm going to say OK. And for this one, I'm going to select some points using my snaps into those corners. And then those same points over here on this drawing. And then I'm going to say OK. And that's going to create a new document called overlay, where it's going to show me what's different between those two files. So if I zoom in here, you can see where they have the green. It's showing the new layout of the green space on site and the sidewalk and new parking area. So that's how we can figure out what's different between the drawings, between the two versions, and then just go ahead and update our markups to get the new quantities for the sidewalk and curb and all of that. Next, let's go into the walkthrough, the punch list at the end of the project. Come over and open up that one here. Over here, you can see in the tool chest that I've created some standard tools for replacing concrete, damaged, discoloring, cracks, crazing. A generic one just says as noted, scaling, buckling, curling, a lot of those most common issues that we have with concrete. And you'll also see that in those I have comments built in for the suggested repair. So all I need to do is come in here and select that punch item and go and drop that on my plan. Maybe there's some cracks over here and so on. We can even add images. So this one looks like there's a crack here and I want to show what that looks like. Maybe we can recoup some costs from a different contractor maybe that drove over and cracked the curb. We can fix that. We can attach images or videos from the field into those markups. And same thing here. We've got some crazing, some discoloration, and then again down here in the bottom, all these comments for how we could repair those are built into those tools as well. And I could always go in here and modify that if it's a one-off and it needs to be addressed differently. I can update that in here and it won't affect the tools that we've built over here. Okay, so then let's look at a summary report. So before I show you that, actually, I want to show you guys that we can actually create a legend on the sheet of everything that was placed. So here you can see I've got 2 marks for cracks and discoloration and so on. It could show the status if I change those, and then also the fix that I'm suggesting. So you'll see that if you wanted to print these and give these out in the field as hard copies, they would have that information. Otherwise, if they're in Bluebeam on site, they'd have all that information down here. So you may not need to do that, that legend on the sheet. So the last thing, we're going to go and create a PDF summary of our punch walk report. So here I've got this set up. It's going to go to my letterhead. I'm going to have it hyperlink. I'm going to look at my filter. So in here, I've got it set up to sort by status. And then I'm going to go by subject after that. And I'm just going to say, OK. And it's going to go through and create a report of all of my markups. And I set it up so that it attaches to this drawing. So I'll have the overall drawing and the report together in one package. And here we are. Here's our report. Again, you can see my letterhead. You can see a little preview of all those places on the plan, what page it's on, what the subject is for buckling, the status of some of those different ones, and the suggested fix. And then it'll also show you a little clip of the ones that had images attached to those. So here's my report of those markups. You can page through those different pages. You'll see at the end of the report, it's actually giving us a capture summary, capture media summary, which is attaching all those images. So in essence, I don't have to send all of these image files. They're going to transfer with the document. They now live inside of this document. So if I come back to those main pages, these thumbnails here are actually hyperlinks as well. So if I click on that, it's going to bring me directly to that spot on my drawing. So I can go and address that as a line item on that summary. So that's what I had today. I wanted to make sure that I kind of went through a bulk of the things that concrete contractors could use Bluebeam for. If you have any questions, or we can work with you and build some tools for you with your specific workflows, make sure you check out my website at uchapter2.com.